there's something here that makes me keep fighting. Because he also said, like, and specifically, like, extreme sports, it's not for girls, you know. So I gave everything I had in that competition. So my purpose was that I wanted to get more girls into the sports. I won the world championship and could really, thanks to my sponsors, live on the sport. But I crashed really hard.
Hey! Today we're chatting with Malin. All we know about her so far is that she has been the world champion in kitesurfing. She recently became a mum and she's a motivational speaker all over the country. That's all we know so far, but we will getting to know her better together with you.
So I was wondering, when was the first time you set foot in Åre, or what was the first time you arrived here?
I remember that my parents had told me afterwards, because I was born in Stockholm, and just a few months after I have come to life, they went up here in February with the whole family.
So I guess your parents are avid skiers, or
yeah, specifically my dad. He's been like a skiing teacher and loves like him being grown up here during the winters.
Okay.
And my grandfather, sorry, has cottage. Do you say cottage? No, what do you say?
A cabin, a cottage.
A cabin, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, in Edsåsdalen, close to here. So that's kind of where we have grown up during the winters. So.
Okay. And what is your first memory that you actually realized that you were here?
Good question. I remember one thing that I really loved doing, actually, because we were always here with I have two sisters, and we had this house very close to the forest, and we took this skis and walked in the forest, you know, and we thought that we were going so far, you know, and Dad said to us, like, okay, we are just going to go into the forest and, you know, have some fika there, the Swedish word, and you come along. And I remember this so much, because my sister was taking the lead and we were like actually trying to find the tracks. And I remember that I thought we were going so far. And there my dad stood with like hot dogs, and, you know, he had some blueberry soup, and it was actually just like, what could it be? Maybe 10 meters around the house. But the snow was so, like, you know, roll of snow, and it was first time he let us going along.
So you were very small then?
Yeah, I have no idea the age, but I didn't remember this memory so much, because nowadays when I have a kid my own, I realize that it's just coming, you know, it's just getting out of the house and you can be around the corner. And that's where I get idea from, that it doesn't mean you don't have to go, you know, up on Skutan or the top of Vällista. You can just get a little fika moment around the house, kind of.
Cool.
And
For
that's
people that are listening that are not Swedish, how would you describe the word fika?
Great. Fika, it's kind of sometimes the reason you go out in the forest.
That's a nice way to see it.
It's the moment you have together with people you like, sit down and drink coffee, but not only coffee, you also have maybe a bun or something. Normally you have something with sugar, but nowadays people have developed, of course, healthy fika, so it can also be a sandwich or an apple. But the whole thing is that you eat something, you drink something, and it's not breakfast, lunch, or dinner time. But you can't have fika after dinner, I think. Then it's something else. It's more dessert, I think. So
yeah,
it's kind of also a way to meet up with somebody, I guess.
Yeah,
a lot of the times when we just moved here, people say, "Oh, let's meet for a fika."
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah, so you have a drink, you have a bite, and you have a gathering, kind of.
Yeah, exactly, those three. Because otherwise we also say, can we have a coffee?
Yeah.
But fika is actually something like, it's a little bit more nice with a fika. Like, you can say that to both kids and friends, you know. We go there and, like, we can, like, sometimes it can be a heavy tour going upwards, up the mountain. And people say, like, we have a fika on the top, you know. Then you go all the way.
Where did you kind of live? Because I assume you didn't grow up here, or did you?
No, actually, I used to say sometimes that I grow up in the wrong place in one way, because I grew up in Stockholm,
Yeah.
doing this typical sports that you do in a city, playing football and tennis, and I remember so much every time we went up here, I really felt other part of me was kind of flourishing. I loved being so close to the nature and exploring the nature on skis mainly. And very early, I went into to freestyle and skiing
cool.
in the more outside the piste, more. I always, like, when I was a kid, I wanted to move here, but there were so many things, like, having this life in Stockholm, and then I popped, like, incidentally into water sports and spent a lot of time on the water. But I think that was kind of a compliment to, like, if you need to live in the mountains to ski, what is the closest, like, feeling of that, which you can do in Stockholm, where it's actually water. And I was so wanted to start, like, wave surfing, but not any typical good waves in Stockholm. I know people surf there, but then I find kite surfing.
In Stockholm.
Yeah,
Okay.
actually. So I started,
Cool.
and it was actually very, very bad conditions to start kite surfing, but I just had this idea I should do this. So when as soon as I was, like, through the whole high school, kind of, the summer I spent on the west coast in Sweden, and then during the all winter holidays I spent up here and started to do snow kiting.
Okay.
So I can, and because of that, I didn't find that water was maybe the best conditions for snow kiting compared to what is possible. So actually, it took a while before I actually came back here as an adult, because I was out in the world traveling around to find even better conditions for kite surfing, actually. So I lived all over the world before I ended up here, actually.
Wow. So kite surfing became your passion,
Yeah,
your
I would
everything,
say,
your life.
Yeah, definitely. It was the part where I felt like everything, when you have a lot of things in the same kind of bubble, I really felt that it was a sport where I could express myself fully, because there's not so clear structures for how you should ride. There's not a one rule and one way to do it, and you can really become creative. And at the same time, it's very close to the nature, and it's also a amazingly community of people that is so including and stuff. So I think that was what actually made me follow it. I think it could, like, when looking back, I don't know if you can see that, but sometimes it's not necessarily the sport or the place that talks to you. It's the kind of inclusion or the belonging you feel to something.
For me, that was the same. I would say I discovered snowboarding at some point, but it was more than just the fact that you could slide on the snow. It was the whole environment and everything around it, and the people that makes that community something where you want to belong to, and easily belong to as well.
Can you remember when you felt that this is what I really want to spend more time on? Like, I probably became your passion, right?
Yeah, that was my first actual moment on the snowboard. Like, literally. Literally.
Oh, wow. So the first time you set your foot there.
Day. And I was like, this is it.
Wow.
I won't go back.
Really? Else, yeah. Where were you when this happened?
That was in France, actually. With some friends. And it just clicked.
At first sight.
Literally love at first sight.
As it was here, right? I haven't heard your love story, though.
No, that was later, but it was also in the mountains.
It was also love at first sight.
That's true.
So we're good at that. And are there, like, you can do it in Sweden. I now know. But what was your favorite place around the world for kite surfing? Or places?
Actually, my favorite place was on the west coast in Australia. There's a place called Perth. You probably heard about, and there you can find. I mean, the great thing there was that, because I did like freestyle kite surfing, so you want very flat water and then very stable wind. And there it was like at the same time every day, it was kind of the same like conditions. Like every time you went there, it was like the wind was stable. It was around like 10 meters per second, which is perfect for kite surfing, or a little bit below, and then totally flat water, and a lot of inspiring people gathering there, so you can really have fun with each other playing. Because normally my challenge has been, when I'm like traveled around to find the best conditions, is to find like where is it flat water and stable wind, and you can also guarantee there's wind. You know, when in Stockholm, I remember one time when I was in high school, and to go to the spot where you could kite surf, it took 1.5 hours by you first take the bus, and then you take a train, and then you take the bus, and then you need to walk 5 kilometers to get there. And I remember that this time it took, it's the whole afternoon after school, and then when I came there, it wasn't any wind at all, so I sat there and I was waiting, and then it's like, there's a little wind, maybe I should try, even though the forecast said there was wind, there wasn't. And I had to go all the way back, walk these 5 kilometers, go to the bus, take the train, take the bus, and then walk home with all my gears, So I remember the first journeys I have outside Sweden, and it was, but actually down south in Skåne, a cold place, Lomma beach. It's also very, very good. So there are good conditions in Sweden too.
Would you recommend an Australian to come kiting in Sweden?
If you put it that way, that was very obvious. That maybe also because of the temperature, it's so nice to not need the wetsuit.
That's true.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So, and this was a part of your job then, back then, or was it only?
Yeah, I was competing a lot. I won the world championship, and can really, thanks to my sponsors, live on the sport.
Really?
And I also transformed to wakeboarding, because the cable wakeboard, where you have not behind a boat, it's a cable. It's very, very close. So when I started with wakeboard, I had I picked it up so easy, because it was what I have done in kite surfing so many years. So when I transformed it, I was on a very high level, very, very quick. So I could go into the national team and start competing with the national team, and had a journey there as well, because these sports really complemented each other. When there was no wind, I can go for the wakeboard, and when there's wind, I did the kite surfing. But
I'm very curious now. Let's say somebody's listening who is 17 years old, loves kite surfing or tried it a few times, and thinks now, oh, I can do this for a living as a competition wise. How did you get from loving it and the hardships in Stockholm to actually competing and traveling all over the world with it?
Wow, good question. I think that one thing that I very early tried to do was, it's about finding a way to, I think it's a little bit like you guys are doing, It's about how can I find ways to do what I love, but also while I'm doing it, how can I also find a good way of also getting paid for it, And the more I really become better into the sport, and one thing, because just a side story to that, because very early when I started kite surfing, I was in high school, right? People didn't know about kite surfing. It was exploding in the world, but in Sweden it was pretty small. So, and I was actually already then, as you said, love with first sight. This is what I'm going to do. I loved it. But I met specifically it was actually a teacher that told me to this when I was, dreaming about kite surfing. And he said to me, that's just a hobby for you, Malin. It's not and you can't live on that. And specifically, and I can really feel like how could he say that? Because he also said like, and specifically like extreme sports, it's not for girls, you know.
Oh,
it's not something that you can live on. You need to understand that. And I know that his purpose was to get me more focused on the schoolwork like that. Yeah. I know that specifically when looking back to, but it really triggers me to say that extreme sport, you can't live on it, specifically kitesurfing. And as a girl, it's even not possible. And I think that also was a trigger for me to show him and also other girls that this is definitely something you can do as a girl to live on extreme sport.
Yeah, I must say I'm a bit surprised that, because how long ago are we talking about? 10 years ago? Or?
Yeah, 15 though. I'm older than you think.
Okay. 15 years ago, that there was already an opportunity to live of it as a girl, not putting it in a negative way, but that you managed to do it at that time.
I feel it more but it was mainly because of the sponsorships, I would say.
Okay.
And I was really dedicated to get sponsors outside the sport itself. So I didn't just have like typical brands. I also have like, there was one bank sponsoring me, for example, and we had a logo in the kite. And I lived in Norway this period of life, and it was a Norwegian bank that sponsored, and they really helped me to like get the travels cost. And I mean, the gears, you when you're on a specific levels, that's easy to often to get deals with. But those kind of deals is really the ones helping you to live on it, I would say.
How did you get in contact with a Norwegian bank, it seems?
Actually, I did this, I think, and this is something that I think is so like core for many things of what I've done, because I've always been very aware of why do I do the things I do. Because I have always been catched by having a clear purpose. And for me, the purpose wasn't to become the best in the world. I never had that as an idea. Or the purpose was not necessarily to reach a specific destination. For me, it was, I mean, the teacher, that he kind of gave me a purpose. So my purpose was that I wanted to get more girls into the sports. So I started a lot of a network to start with, where I tried to gather girls that was doing action sports. It was called surfartjejer. It's like surfing girls, but with a very weird spelling. I don't know why it ended up there. It's like surfare. And the cool thing that we started as 4 people, and within a year there were over 1,000 girls in this network. So it was really showing that it's not that girls don't want to do these things. It's about lacking an easy way to find other people and to low down the threshold to get into the sport. So I also had some girl camps to teach others. And so when I was actually also back to your question about how to get a deal with a bank, it was that I went there to tell them my purpose. Like, I'm here to really change in the way we look into girls and extreme sports, because I was so triggered that the few parts where there was movie at this time, when it comes to girl in specifically kitesurfing movies, it was in bikinis walking the beach. And that was really the view. I had no inspiration of girls doing their thing. It was growing though, and in today, I'm so happy to see that has really changed. Yeah. But I think that is one important thing when creating collaborations with who have a clear purpose. Why are you doing it? Because I think today specifically, it's not about like, I'm a person who have a lot of how do you say exponering? Exposure, yeah. I think it's about what do I stand for, what's my purpose, what do I want to change, and that's what really, I think that was something they got inspired to, that they wanted to be part of that journey.
Are you still involved in the whole kite world, or is that part a bit over?
No, I wish. Actually, I had a very, very a little bit of a sad story there, actually. I was actually in the Philippines with the national team. Once again, still ambitions to do a good result. So I gave everything I had in that competition. And in the semifinals, I was like doing a trick that I really wanted to. I know that if I make this, it will probably get me to the finals. And in the wakeboard, I hadn't been so close to a world champion title. So, but I crashed really hard and got a seriously concussion, and that was kind of the end for what I loved to do. It really put a pause on everything, and instead of becoming better from this concussion, I became worse. So
worse in what way?
In the way that after a while, like, you know, you have a strong light here. I could now, sometimes when I look into this strong light, I can be like, wow, that's fascinating. You know, I can sit here with no problem at all with all these lights, you know. But at that moment, that light would get me so dizzy, and I would get a lot of headache, and I couldn't take that without feeling ill. You know, what do you say, ishel? You know, when things are just going around in your head, it's like dizzy, kind of dizzy. So I need to take away all stimuli. I couldn't listen to sound. I couldn't take in sound. I couldn't watch TV. I couldn't watch my phone. There were definitely no screen, definitely no socializing. So I was kind of left in a dark room.
And this is so, yeah, just to understand the situation a bit better. But it was in the Philippines that you went home, I assume.
Yeah,
they took care of you there, and then you had a long period after to recover from the concussion.
I think I was almost in this like closed dark room for 3 months, I would say.
Okay.
Approximately. Sometimes I was out of it, but that was mainly my base. That was how my days look like. Most of the days was like, I went out, and then all these things came and I had to go back. And then after a long time, I got contacted with a doctor that was a specialist in this. And then I got a stare. I needed to rehab to get, and after a year approximately, I was back. But the thing was that I was so, like, you know, when you get into this situation, you really question, like, how could I be so stupid? Why did I push myself so hard? Like, will I ever get better? Like, what if this is part of my life forever? How would I, like, what should I do for a living? Like, really, if I got stuck in this, so, you know, there's so much, and like how you have so critical voices that you spend all your day with, you know. And you ask, like, how, because, I mean, when I have looked into studies afterwards, 1 of 3 that get into this situation, they take their life because you are so trapped with your own thoughts and you can't stand out. So I needed something to hang up my motivation on, and that was like, I pictured that I'm going to go back to the sport, whatever it takes. That's what I love, you know, that's where I feel at home. So I pictured that, like, every single day I needed to find motivation there.
I have been in quite a similar situation.
Really?
I broke my skull in 2 places skateboarding.
Oh my God.
So quite a heavy head trauma as well. And now you're saying, different in the sense that I didn't have a very long concussion after, but I did get more in the direction of depression, or I did have a really heavy year that followed, like you had. And what I did, or the solution was for me, was going traveling straight away. So a few months after the accident, I was already off to Australia. Was that smart? No, definitely not. So I grabbed my backpack and I filled it with my clothes. I had it ready in the corner of my room, and I was just counting down the days that I could go. And that's what got me through in the end. And a lot of life lessons in that year, for sure, in many ways. But I find it pretty, what you say is that, you either go into depression and it can go really bad, or you hold on to something that you can be in control of. and maybe you can never do the same sports again. Luckily, I can still ski and skateboard and all those things. I take it easy. I went down a notch in the level, or not in the level, in the intensity, I would say. A bit less reckless. But yeah, something to hold on to, and it's I'm happy for you.
What did you do? Like, I mean, you had such a clear direction for where you were heading, and you're counting down the days. What really helped you these days when you wanted to give up it and it felt so far away? What did you...
I think there was definitely the rebel in me.
Yeah.
Proving everybody wrong.
Yeah.
100%. They all said, like, you can never ski again, or you should not, and it's dangerous, and you should be home for a year. And I was like, I'm fine. I'm going to show you guys that I can. So yeah, that was.
But that's so inspiring, because when you say that, where do you think that kind of power comes from within you? That you start in that kind of situation to not give up. Instead, you want to show that everyone has wrong. Where does it come from?
I have no idea. Where did it came from in you?
No, I'm just curious if it's
a very good question, but I don't know. I think it's I've always had that, though. That's been since I was little. I wanted to go away and travel and do my own things. And when I was 18, I left everything and went away. I went into the oblivion.
But it was an idea, right? That you believed in one way.
Believe,
right?
100%. In my eyes, it was possible. And the people around me found it hard to see. But that's been a red thread in my whole life, maybe. But
But that's because it's really interesting when you say that, because I work a lot with research when it comes to motivational and like your mindset, and it was so interesting to see what was it that really got you through, because the mindset you have that I believe in myself, it's so clear. Because I just need to tell you this inspiring, especially you guys have kids, so it's even more interesting when you have as a parent, because you say that you have it within you, like I have it within me, but it's actually, as we can see from research now, it's actually something that also very learned by the environment.
Okay.
And that's interesting to see how you think about it when I tell you, because Carol Dweck, a great scientist from Stanford, she looked into kids and see they have exactly the same circumstances when it comes to the external environment, but also internally when it comes to IQ and so. And still, given the same circumstances, she can see that the kids have a totally different way of developing. Some kids really reached very high level of learning and goals, and the other didn't. And she's like, how is it possible? They get the same challenges, but still, there's some kids that's learning so much faster and they really reach their goals. And they thought that, of course, maybe these kids, like they have a higher level of grit, and they are of not giving up, and they really focus, etc. But she could see when she got deep into these studies that was just byproduct of something else, a byproduct of how you view the world and yourself. It's a mindset. And some kids internally had an idea that I can do this, I can learn, and by putting effort and strategies, I will become better because I am a person who's here to learn, you know. The other kids had an idea that what I have when I got born, that's what I have. So it doesn't matter how much strategies I practice or how much I learn, I'm kind of fixed with what I have. So if I go into something that gives me like setbacks and challenges, it's a recipe telling you this is not your thing. While you're meeting the same challenges with the other mindset, you see, instead of it's a recipe for not do like my thing, it's like, wow, here I will learn. That's the challenge. Here's where I grow. This is where I learn. And I got so interesting when it comes to this, when it also comes to grown up, like you can see the same thing in grown ups as well, that you go into new fields and work, or you try new stuff, or you keep yourself to the things you're already feeling you are expert in, and you develop only within the field you feel comfortable with. And you see yourself that I'm a growing person because I'm growing within what feels natural for me. But that's so interesting when you're a kid, because then you need to learn in so many different areas to become like well educated. But today also, when the world is going so fast, we need to have the same mindset to keep learning outside our expertise.
But how do you get that mindset then?
Yeah, and that's the funny thing, because I was serious. They could see that it's mainly the grown-up around you when you are a kid that foster what kind of mindset you have. So probably, and of course you could see it's also a little bit about personality, of course, but mainly it's also very much of how the grown-ups talk to you about other people's success, for example, or when you are in a challenge, or how do we praise our kids? Like, for example, saying when you have... actually, think about this when it comes to your own childhood now. How did your parents... I'm not sure this is going to be a correlation here. I'm just curious. Like, when you came home, say that you have done a very great results on your mathematics in school. And you want to show this for your parents. And you're coming so happy. And when they're praising you for your good results, how would they praise you?
Did I ever have good results?
Of course you do.
No, I'm thinking of it now that the first thing that came into my mind is that my mom always said, you can only do the best that you can. So if I would leave very stressed for an exam, she would say, just do the best you can. You can only do the best you can. And that gave me a lot of comfort throughout my life still, I think. And if I would come home with a bad result, they would be disappointed, but okay, we believe in you, you can do better. I think that's an important one. Did they ever get really mad for a bad result? No, but they always believed in me. They gave me the feeling I could do more. With a good result, I had less of those. I was a bit lazy in high school. With a good result, I would be proud. Just but more from the side of, we knew you could do it.
And that's so interesting what you say, because you hear that she's saying you can do it. Like, it's about me doing something. I can bring myself forward by acting on a more strategic way or a smart way, or by acting, I will take myself further. One other way, and probably that's one reason, not the whole reason, but just one reason you can probably, it's so natural to you to have that mindset, because that fosters a more so-called growth mindset. If your parents, like most parents do, and I do that also by accidentally, often already to my own kid, even though I know about it, it's by saying that you are good. Like, you come home with a great result and your parents would say, you are so smart, Val, you are so great. And the hard thing that is that I'm saying that you are something, which is like, if I am this person, that what can I change, you know?
So when you come with
because that also means when you come with a worst result, a bad result, then it's like, what's your own translation there? It's like, okay, if I was good when I did a good result, now when I'm doing a bad, I am bad. So, maybe I'm actually not that smart, and in the end, you know. But here they like, when you came with a bad result, it's like, I know you can do better.
And how would you put this on your youth? Like, how did it make you who you are?
No, I think that I had two parents in if we go back, and my dad was very much, when I have like analyzed it afterwards, he was a lot about helping me progress by acting or like training, practice, and you become better by that. My mom was like, you are fantastic, you're always good, you know. And I think of course, it doesn't mean that you should never say you are good or you are, but it's just that when we have performed, as parents, it's so important to say you did well because you put a lot of effort here. So I'm also curious how you relate to this when it comes to you, Jot.
Yeah, I grew up in a more classical Belgian family, let's say, where it's also a bit older. So I guess they looked at the highest possible achievable results always. So anything less than a 10 out of 10 was not good, basically. So you felt it as a kid a lot, because if you came home with a 9, even though you thought you were great, you know, it still wasn't good enough, because the 10 there needed to be the 10. So I think that kind of slumped me into a more of letting go attitude at that point in school. Like, well, it's obviously impossible to keep going for that 10 at some point. So I'm just let it be, and then 5 is fine, or a 6, and I'm not gonna strive to get the maximum out of everything.
Because you always feel like a failure, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. So you adapted to that by actually giving up a little bit to try.
Yeah, and then I remember one, like a student council saying, well, what are your plans for life? And I said, well, I want to go to university, because that was also the highest achievable.
Yeah.
And he literally said, no, you can't, you're not good enough. That's out of your league.
Oh.
But that triggered me, and it's a bit, because you were talking about triggers, and that triggered me. Like I say, like, screw you, I will show that I can do this.
Yeah.
Even though I'm maybe not performing at my maximum now, I really want to go to university, at least try and do my best. But so it's interesting to see, looking back at that, I did not get that nurturing upbringing of like, you are doing it the right way, or, but it still made me go somewhere, like to university. And I actually finished it. So it's not that I couldn't do it.
No, but I think that one thing there is that they also, in this case, your parents had a really high belief in you. You can do a 10, go for the 10, go for the 10. So in one way, they foster a growth mindset for you to really challenge and put effort. But maybe if we should, like, not to point out your parents here, but if they were like, the problem with that high expectations is that it's never okay to fail, as you say. So there we all need to balance. We should have a high expectation on each other's and our kids of how they can grow and develop. But we also need to build self-esteem by also handling failures in a more constructive way. And that's okay that we are not always 10 out of 10. So it's more like the way we foster it when it comes to, so you probably get the growth mindset, but you also get a very, a mindset which is also very performance-based. The self-esteem is very much connected to your performance, giving that very high expectation. So it's always a balance, I would say, there.
A big thanks to Mrs. Maggie's for sponsoring this episode. Mrs. Maggie's is a really cozy restaurant in Duvet. So if you're in Åre, definitely do not hesitate to go to Duvet. They have delicious fika and dinner and lunch and everything you could possibly dream of. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. Because thanks to Mrs. Maggie's, you can win a Swiss dinner for 4 people. It will have raclette cheese and it's going to be delicious. You can find more information in the captions below.
I'm very curious, and in the end, because our podcast is What's Up Åre.
Yeah.
How then did you end up here, of all places? Well, you liked it here.
Exactly. How did I end up here? There was something that happened to me when I finished I needed to finish everything that had with extreme sports to do. And my response to that, as a little bit what you do, is like, but I took away everything that had with extreme sports to do. So I took away all the nature and everything that could remind me, and did something totally different, and then ended up in the city, educating me and working in Stockholm and so. And that was good for one recovery part. And then I actually got into touring in the mountains in a very more safe way, because my brain will never heal for 100%. So I can't go to any risky sports where there will be impact towards my head. So I need to take it more safe. And the touring really inspired me. And still at that time, I had came so far also in my professional career. So I really wanted to combine these. So
we talk about ski touring.
Ski touring. Sorry, ski touring. Yeah, ski touring. At one point, I always thought that, because I've been here and traveled up with friends to Storulvån to do some touring there, ski touring, and I really loved that kind of. I hadn't seen Åre in that kind of view before, because I had been to Åre because of skiing mostly in the parks, or I was mainly close to just the small off-piste areas close to the piste. I haven't explored Åre by actually knowing ski touring and go through or go up the mountain. So
when I was just to interrupt, but for those people listening who have no idea what Sturevan is.
Oh, sorry.
It is.
Can you tell us?
The easiest way to explain it, I think it's a 40-minute drive from Åre towards the Norwegian border, and it really feels like a more alpine area. It reminds me more of Norway. It is some good mountains with unlimited terrain to explore. It's big and open and vast.
Exactly.
With no ski lifts.
With no ski lifts.
That's important.
You have to walk with your skis up there.
Yeah.
So that opened up the mind for me what you can actually do in Åre. Because to hang out in the piste and that kind of off-piste that I was doing before, I couldn't do that anymore. I didn't want to jump cliffs or hang in the park or anything like that anymore. So that opened up a view that, wow. And there was actually people, specifically if you hang out at Sturevan, there's what people do there. They're touring. So I more often traveled up there actually to do this. And got to learn to know people that was doing it, and then we explored areas more close to Åre, around the ski area, and that really opened up my mind for Åre, for that kind of exploring.
And then to actually live here maybe one day.
Yeah, actually that was because I had decided actually to go fully in for this even more and to live in the mountains. So I actually had booked one season in Italy, in Champoluc, me and my boyfriend Anders, and we were so planning for this. And just like 1 month before we should move there, the whole pandemic happened, and Italy was not the place to go. So what we did was that we so what to do? Like, we have organized our work, so we should work 50% on a distance. So that was all fixed. But we didn't have a place to go. And then, more and more closed downs. So it ended up that we find, not a van, what do you say? Husbil in English? What a house?
Camper van.
Camper van, kind of, yeah. So we brought our skis and everything and took our computers into this van, and then we drive through Sweden with it for the whole winter. And on our way down, we stopped here because my parents has this house in Jesusdalen, and when we stopped there, the pandemic was still on, and everyone was working from home. So then we realized we don't need to go home, and then we got stuck here, actually.
Okay, how long ago is that then?
Yeah, when was it? 2020, right? Was it that when the pandemic was?
Oh, yeah, okay. During the pandemic.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm missing one connection though between you were in your main career as a top sport athlete. You had that accident, and then you were in a recovery period. What happened then? What was the switch to your professional or other career?
No, but the interesting thing was there was some thing that happened when I was very sick in this concussion. You get so much time to think. When you're so, specifically me, I'm a very restless person. There needs to happen things all the time. So that was the first time in life where I didn't have any input, and it was a hard time for me. And you question life, you question yourself, you question your purpose, and one thing that came to me then was that there's something here that makes me keep fighting, and I don't understand why. And that was something I really wanted to understand, because this was something that gave me a direction for how is it possible that some people start fighting in these situations and some people not. And I knew I had some tools because I had been into research when it comes to motivational psychology and how you work mentally, because I was athletic. So I knew there was some tools that I practiced to go through this hard time. So when I was recovered, I started to deep into neuroscience and motivational psychology.
What kind of tools are you talking about? Is that...
Yeah, it's one easy tool that I use, which is called self-compassion. You probably understand it by the word, but it's about developing a relationship towards yourself where you become your best coach instead of your critical, hard
your
voice.
Worst critic.
Yeah, I was so critic during this time because I had so much anxiety. So I really practiced, how can I treat myself as I would be my best friend here? What would I say when I wake up? What would I say when I go to bed? What will I say to myself when I feel worried about my future? And that really helped me. And that was one tool that really, and in the beginning, I had never thought about being my own friend, That critical voice has just been there because I'm also a performant person. So I can really relate to what you say.
But that's a beautiful way of looking at it, to be your own best friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you relate to that you can sometimes be your worst friend.
I remember the opposite, that when we were in COVID and we had just sold our bus and we had no idea what to do in life, I started playing, is maybe a bad word, but I started doing this to us. And I would say, Tim, let's imagine we're our own coach right now. And we are called Sarah and Jim, whatever. What would we give as an advice to Sarah and Jim? Because I knew that we had all the tools in us to figure our stuff out. But it's hard to look at yourself as a third person kind of perspective. It's harder to criticize or help or coach yourself. It doesn't have to be in a bad way, but just give yourself good feedback because it's you. It's not the same as I can give him feedback all day. It's very easy, but it's harder on yourself.
Yeah.
So we often kind of played this game like,
what would Jim and what would they say?
But that's actually very true, because giving like the place Åre, I could really feel, and that's one reason I really want to find a sustainable way for me to live here, because I'm still like traveling a lot and have a lot of clients in Stockholm and Gothenburg, but I love being here. And sometimes, some days I'm like, I leave Åre at 5 o'clock in the morning, stop by Stockholm to do a lecture, and then I jump on the train, go to Gothenburg for a lecture in the evening, jump on the train to go to Halmstad to have a lecture in the morning, and then hours getting back here to Åre. And I was like, what the heck am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, really, why am I doing this? And it's like, it's also what I love with Åre, because people who live here, I think it's because the two reasons I really live here is because the main reason is because I become a better person. Like, I really become more caring about myself, more caring about the nature. You're so close to the nature. I start caring about the nature. The community here in Åre is like, just yesterday, we had trouble if this would even happen to do this podcast today, because Anders was called in to the hospital. I needed to work, and I had Nika, my daughter, for myself, and then I found out, like, now I don't have a car to get here, and like what I'm gonna do with Nika, and how am I gonna get here? And I reached out to people, and within like 5 minutes there were people helping me, and everything was possible to make this happen.
Yeah.
And people care about each other. People, you share stuff. You are not afraid to ask for help, And even though I get so much response, people are like, if something happens anyway, I'm here, I have an extra car as well. Even if, there's so much giving. And when I'm in bigger cities, I don't get so much connected to that person of myself. I get distance to the nature. So I'm not as aware of my daily action of how to care about it, or I get too much into my bubble of work, so I don't get the connection with other people, and therefore I don't care in the way I do here. But now I had a point there, but now I ended up. But I just wonder, like, if you guys can see that with yourself, that depending on where you are, you change who you are towards yourself and others as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think as soon as we are back in Belgium, in Antwerp, for example, it is a big city.
Yeah.
It takes over. I feel the city takes you over in a way. And it's very hard to fight that, because you become a part of the whole, call it the rat race, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of a natural thing to do as well, because that's just the way a city works. you really need to stand out or do it completely different, and that takes a lot of energy. And it's like you say here, it's more natural to go with the flow maybe, and there's more openness and time for other things. So yeah.
But even though I think everybody should move here, honestly, how do you? Because you know a lot about tips and tricks. Then I guess, how would you say somebody can feel happiness and that community feeling when they are in Stockholm? Like, I'm curious about that. If there is a solution for those who cannot travel to Åre right now.
Yeah, no, but it's a good idea, because I also have been thinking about that, because sometimes because of travels, like I get into, like, I need to be in Stockholm for a while, and then I'm like, how can I bring that feeling? And I think that one important thing is that in every town or city, wherever you live, there's always communities. And I think to make it easy for yourself to handle that is to try to find these communities where you feel belonging and enter into them. And it can be communities like finding, for example, I want to do mountain biking in Stockholm. Okay, which people are doing is there a community? Or I want to play music, or I want to dance, or I want to, finding these communities and jump into them, because too often we go there and try to create that. And that's a very, very heavy task to do, specifically in cities when people are often very, occupied with job and getting the life together. So you get a lot of, no, I'm too tired to show up. You get disappointed of always trying to create that. And I can see, like, jumping into existing communities, there's another kind of lower threshold, I would say, to get that.
Did you jump in any communities here already in Åre?
No, but actually one amazing thing here in Åre is the house bee. You have, I don't know if you're told about this in the podcast, or
not
if you
yet,
want to frame it.
you can do it.
Or maybe you want to frame house bee. What's your view of house bee? How would you?
When we arrived, we actually started off there.
Really? You did?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because we figured out that's probably the easiest way to get, like you said, to get into a community. And it's been a mix of social and work. And
so what is it? How would you explain it?
So what it is a common workspace. Co-working space.
Exactly.
But it's a bit open. I guess I'm not so familiar with other co-working spaces.
No, and that's very interesting, because I've been part of co-working spaces in other cities as well, and I didn't have that much expectation about the house bee, because I knew my experience from before. And what I have experienced in big cities is that people are still very, very focused and occupied about their work. So you're just walking around with a lot of people in this space. And what really hit me here is that there are a lot of entrepreneurs up here. There are a lot of business people that have a very successful business up here, but they still take time to talk. And it's so easy to, what happened to me when I went to House B was that these small talks also led to, we're going out for skiing after today, do you want to join? Or we're actually going to do this yoga tomorrow. Do you want to join? It's just outside here. We're just going to gather some people. And that openness is like, you open up a little more. You're not only in your little bubble, or that sometimes the bubbles you are in is that you always only connect to people that can give you and your business something, But here is it's just for having fun and connect, So it doesn't matter. Sometimes your house bee, you have no idea what people work with, but you still been skiing a lot of times together. And so that's actually my start here, I would say. And many of my best friends today are people I met there just the first weeks I was here. There is an openness, and people are coming here from all of us three, and no one is here from here. Yeah. And that's also often why we want to connect with other people. So many comes to House B because of that, to really connect.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, I think it was interesting also that they actually focused a lot also on the activities instead of the jobs.
Exactly.
They would say that we're going for a run now. They have a tradition that they run up to the Totten Hill there. I don't know.
What is Tot? Tell about Tot. No one maybe don't know about Tot.
It's a little hill behind the co-working space there, but and there are many of these small activities that they do together. Which creates a good bond, I would say.
But that's what brings us together here as a community in general, I would say. It's activities, being outdoors. But it could also be just a lovely fika in nature.
Yeah.
Maybe the taking time for yourself part, if you would have to round it up in one thing. It's like doing what you love to do. And for us, that's nature, I guess, when you move here, or for most people. And in a city, if I think of what you just said, that could also be knitting or cooking or theater or anything. Yeah. But if you do what you love, you'll find other people who have a similar interest, and then you can feed off that, and it gives you energy and purpose and so many things. So if we go back to Antwerp, where are we going to go? Where do we find the people?
No. We have a good community there already.
Definitely.
So that's not an issue.
Yeah, but I love that idea of thinking, like, how can you always pick up that kind of, because I mean, people want, in the end of the day, we are human beings who want to belong. We want to connect. That's one of the main driving forces we have as human beings. That's to feel belonging with other people. And it's very clear, and that's just being around people or having 1,000 friends on Facebook or contacts on LinkedIn. That's not the same thing. It's about sitting here talking about life and what we love to do and really feel like, wow, we have really seen each other today, to have a real meeting. And everyone needs that. But sometimes the environment you're in are even helping you with that, or maybe not. And that's where we need to be aware, like, how can I create environments if, like, it doesn't matter if I'm in Ori or in Stockholm, or, it's how can I make sure that need is satisfied in my everyday life?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about the chaotic travel you just mentioned. Yeah. Because we kind of skipped that, but that sounds super hectic. So can you explain a bit what your job looks like at this point in time?
Oh, my job.
We've touched on it a couple of times, I would say.
Yeah, but I work as, I had two kind of ways of explaining it, because one part is I'm a motivational speaker and go into a lot of conferences and inspire about research when it comes to self-leadership and how to motivate yourself through change and challenges, circumstances.
Yeah, something you learned by yourself or through life experience?
No, actually, I've been, for many years before I was doing this, I studied at the university. I studied cognitive neuroscience and positive psychology. So it's a scientific field which is more focusing on, to make it easy, it's like you have this traditional psychology, which has been for hundreds of years when it comes to how can I fix problems with people and cure them from this problem. It could be, like you said, depression or anxiety or clinic diseases like schizophrenia or anorexia. So, that's something we have been focused on for a very long time and been very good at healing or curing, or everything is not possible to cure, but we have found ways. But positive psychology is looking like, okay, if you are free from that problem, you're actually fine, you're healthy and psychological well-being pretty okay. How can you take that to the next level? How can I feel more purpose, more meaning? How can I develop better relationships? How can I feel more passionate about life or feel more motivation? So that's part of what I've been focusing on. So I have a leadership agency. No, do you say that? I'm not a leadership agency. What do you say?
Consultancy. Yeah, in a way.
Yeah, a consultant company that I'm having together with. We are like 12 people that have our headquarters in Stockholm that help clients with creating strong cultures within their companies where people feel motivated, that they feel satisfied in the way they interact and work with each other, and how we can create teams and leaderships that really are focusing on both well-being, sustainability, but also development. So how can we create a more sustainable way of working as people together, and at the same time take our business to the next level? So how can we combine that? So I end up in a lot of workshops and lectures and so around Sweden to meet my clients. So that's why I need to travel a lot. But I love that, so it's worth it. But sometimes, of course, I question like, why do I travel so much? Because sometimes it's crazy.
Yeah, but it's part of the job, I guess.
It's part of the job, and I don't think that everyone would fit with it, of course, you know. But I have a personality which is that I love contrasts in life. That's makes me feel alive with contrasts. So to be in that and travel and meet a lot of people, inspire in what I really love and help people grow, it really gives me one part that's very important for me. And then I come up to Åre and it really slows down, you know. And, you know, I have 1 minute to the grocery store, to the kindergarten, 1 minute to the office, you know. That's the small life where you don't, you know, those contrasts, it's something that also give me.
But I guess those periods are not always that hectic, or
no, that's the thing, that I have periods where it's really hectic and then slow down, and that's why I can manage to do it, I would say.
Do you have some daily tips and tricks again? I feel like you're a head full of tips and tricks. But do you have some daily things that you do to keep yourself happy, thinking of mental health and psychological health and physical health, all those things? Like,
yeah, like when it comes to a more hectical life, you say, or just in general?
In general, because of that, because it goes all over the place.
Yeah.
What keeps it steady for you? Like,
yeah, I would say one thing is routines.
Okay.
Of course, and that's not routines, but routines that really fills me with a great well-being and stability. So, for example, in the morning, for example, we know that too much time on screens and to interact too early in the morning with inputs can actually affect your whole day of how you feel for the rest of the day. What you expose to yourself the first 1 to 2 hours from you wake to bed, like into 2 hours ahead. I'm very aware of that. I don't open my phone until often around like 9 or 10, even though I wake up at 6:30 or 7 with my daughter so often. And I definitely don't like start my day by looking into the emails. I never do that. I had already the day before decided what are my 3 most important tasks I'm going to do this morning. And then I make sure I do this before I open the mail or interact with the world, because then I give myself a small bubble to keep myself like focused, healthy, like connected to myself before I open up the world. And then I'm more what do you say? Not so stressed. It's more coming from a calm way of taking decisions throughout the day. And of course, sometimes, I mean, I can still wake up and, you know, have these crazy mornings where Nika, my daughter, is like so disappointed for everything, whatever I do, and she screams, and you know, there's poo all over the place, and your food, and you're like, what? Can I just leave her? And then, you know, of course, but it's still like I'm trying to. If I would be on my phone and all these things would happen in the mornings with her, for example, I would be double as stressed. You know.
Have you been doing this for a long time, or?
Actually, those things I've done since I became very ill in my concussion. Because when I was ill in my concussion, I had so limited attention for what I could put my energy to. So I needed to find strategies to minimize input and also to make efficient way of working. Otherwise, I think I would never even sit here today if I hadn't these survival tools, actually, because I had been so limited of my capacity of how much I use my brain.
So in a way, it's kind of a good thing that happened.
Yeah, in one way. No, but actually, in looking back, of course, when I was there, it was the most terrifying experience I ever had. And I still can feel a lot of hard emotions and thoughts looking back. And I mean, it's a trauma that will never probably...
Can I ask what exactly happened when you crashed, or how did you fall? Do you know? Or
yeah, it's actually the crash itself wasn't so crazy. I just did a trick and was very high up, but in wakeboard, you know, the the surface is supposed to be very flat, you know.
Yes.
So it became very, very hard. And then you have your helmet as well, because there are kickers and sliders, you know, so boxes that you should go to. So you have helmets because of that. But helmet, when you are in a water, is not actually so good, because, you know, it's like if you throw a ball on a water surface, which is very, you know, it just boom like that. So if I wouldn't have helmet, then it will probably cross the surface. But now it was just like that, and it's had been happened a few times before.
So do they not wear helmets anymore now, or is this a discussion, debate?
It's actually, no, it's 100% helmet still. But in kitesurfing, normally I didn't, and many others didn't use helmets, because you usually don't go on kickers and so, and there are more bubbles in the water, so you're not exposed in the same way, I would say. And so I never had this problem with kitesurfing. I had most of my accidents when it comes to wakeboarding.
You hit the water hard, and then you instantly were...
Yeah, I had a few crashes like that before, and I think this one was, what do you say, it was the top of the iceberg, is that what you say? It's like...
Yeah, that's what they told me in the hospital, because I also had quite a few concussions before mine.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
I know, and also I've heard afterwards, been into this, that actually we are so much more vulnerable as women when actually getting that kind of concussions, that we are not as strong and had a kind of resilience in our brain as
now you take away all my beliefs.
No, you know, it's terrible research, but it's good to know.
Yeah. And what they told me was that every time you have a concussion, the result will get worse.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's exponentially bad to crash again.
Yeah.
So that's what we're not going to do.
Did you have it in the same sport all the time, or was it different?
No, the first time I was like 5 years old, and they ran over me on the playground, and they kicked me hard to the ground.
You remember that?
Yep.
Really?
I physically remember that, yeah. Definitely.
Do you remember how you react, like your first concussion? What were the symptoms?
Puking.
I was, yeah.
All over the car, I remember that. And then at the hospital and everything. And anyways, enough about me.
So it was one crash too many, and then you ended up straight into the hospital, basically.
Yeah, the problem was that, you know, I never got, what do you say when you don't wake up? What do you say? Blackout, yeah. I had it earlier. I had blackouts. This time I just lost my memory, but I was still aware all the time. But I was repeating stuff, and I didn't know where I was. And I remember there was one situation where I remember this because my friend said to my other friends at the hospital that it's so crazy, Malin doesn't even know that she is in the Philippines. You know? Wow. And I remember that is so weird. I remember it because I have no idea. There's so much like gaps I don't remember at all. But I have just heard that I repeated stuff, and so that I remember how scared I become when he said that. So I think that crash was the one that made me very, very ill, but it wasn't the worst crash of all crashes I had. So yeah,
tough, yeah.
Yeah, but also, I mean, can't you see that when you have been through some hard things, when you're on the other side, you can really feel appreciation to what's really happened? Because in one way, I can also look at it today and be very thankful for what I went through, because today I look into life still differently, even though it's so long time ago. But now I'm much more, you know, I'm looking into life with more light, even though it can be really dark sometimes, because it's some way that I got a second chance. And I know that if I don't connect to this trauma every now and then, I will maybe lose that skill.
Yeah.
So I also try to use it with power, specifically these hard days when everything goes against you, or like yesterday, you know, if that was not even maybe possible for me to sit here, that was also still, I try to really get into looking into their perspectives all the time.
Yeah. What else do you do outside of work? Except we talked about
what I do
some
on my free time.
Yeah, you snow kite. I think that's over.
Yeah, I don't do any sport which is risky for impact towards your head.
Yeah.
So I don't do anything of that. But what I mainly do, like in the summer up here, I run a lot in the mountains. I love doing that. That's I do some mountain biking, but it's very, very on like a safe level. I'm not the one in the park doing downhill, definitely not. So I'm more in the trails and doing it in a very secure way. And that's the summer activities I love doing here. Otherwise, in the winter, I would say it's mainly ski touring. That's also, of course, some cross-country skiing and so. But that's more like a way for me to, it's a more physical training. Cardio thing than I like love doing it, actually. It's just a better way to come out and to get some exercise. But just being out and taking some fikas and getting up on the tops and ski them down, that's what I really... Or, I mean, the best part here, which is very small, though, that's the ice skating up here. It's incredible. You guys know, it's like...
Haven't done it yet.
You haven't done it? Wow, really? No way. It's like the craziest thing, before I lived here, it's so seldom that you get these perfect conditions to ice skate. But these few days that you have, it's like, I can remember them as there have been many of them, but it's just because the few that has been, you're just like feeling it. So you're just going all in with that day, because the ice is so beautiful. And it's like no snow on the ice, and it's like it's.
Let me know where you go, and I'll join you.
I will definitely tell you.
So I wonder, because you did a lot of extremer sports when you were younger, and I guess that one of the reasons was to push yourself as well, physically, mentally, maybe.
Yeah.
Since you can't do them anymore now, what do you do to achieve that same feeling? Or
it's interesting, because I can also sometimes, if there's something I sometimes regret when looking backwards. There's not so much I regret, but I regret a little bit that I pushed myself so much all the time, because I really also wanted to push the sport for girls and show that we could do so much more. It was like, as a girl, specifically in a very where there's a lot of guys, it's always that to get respect as a girl at that time, it was that you needed to be... It wasn't okay just being good. You needed really to stand out. And to get that respect, I really tried to really push my skills all the time to show them and to show other girls that what we can do. And I think by doing that, it started from an inspiration of pushing the limits, but then it becomes something else. And looking back today, I can see that I have still one part of me who love like pushing my limits, but I realized that I can do it in so many different ways. It doesn't need to be physically, Now I'm really been practicing to appreciate just being out in the mountains and see how beautiful it is, It's not about me pushing my skills. And it's in the start, it didn't come naturally. I instantly wanted to become better or getting like faster and higher, and but I really been like very, very aware of these situations to choose appreciation. And then I got the chance through my job to get closer to that feeling of pushing myself, because there I'm in so many different situations. Sometimes I have not maybe been practicing for, sometimes I end up with a management team with a huge conflict, and I'm there to solve it. And I see how everything in the room is becoming very, very critical, and people are like this, like, and I'm the one there to solve it. I can really see. And then you like organizing the conversation, making everyone patient and listen to each other, and find these things that the keys to help them. And then afterwards, when we can leave that room and actually people who maybe didn't even like each other can give each other a hug afterwards,
Nice.
That's when I get that feeling. And I like kind of find And that's maybe one of the most valuable insights I've got of my own journey, is that you can find so many different arenas for important motions that's important for your well-being, I would say.
And do you go on any adventures around here, or?
Yeah, I still love going on adventure though. I have so much. It's crazy because I've been here for like my whole life, and I've like been living here for almost 5 years now. But there's still so many areas I have like even not explored yet, but the best adventures that I love to do is actually when I still have my favorite area when we go up to Storövån and touring in, or maybe go even higher up to Sylarna, or another part called Lönndörren, to find new areas of ski touring. And I also love to bring the tent to go for. I don't like tent in the summer actually, but in the snow during winter, I love it. Doing this fire outside the tent, and it's like I just love doing that, even though it's a bit colder. But I love doing those kind of just being in the nature adventure style.
Yeah,
but not necessarily that I need to push any limits in it though.
No.
Sounds like pretty limits pushing though. Winter tent, sleeping outdoors.
Yeah, but that was actually one part when I had to quit my sport. One thing that I hadn't been into was kind of outdoor life. I hadn't done that much, like tenting and bringing your kitchen out and doing food on. I hadn't done that much of that, and that was definitely a new area that I have been exploring when I also moved up here. And also I did a tour up in Norway for a few days where we really were challenged in the weather conditions and so. But actually, it was fun. But it was like I more often questions why I do those extreme tours still sometimes, because in the end it's not what really always give me. I'm not chasing that kind of adventures anymore in that way. I love doing adventures, but more in a control way, I would say.
Maybe a well thought through way that you.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe it's also because now when I'm a mother, it's even more. I'm more like kind of what do you say? Embracing that kind of seeing. And I would say, yeah.
Is there any adventure on your bucket list in the upcoming season or years that you really want to do?
Yeah, but actually, I have actually. There is this place up at the Lönndörren, which is a little hub or cottage, if you say, that is up on the mountain. And it's like there's no water or so, and close to there are some beautiful skiing areas. And I really want to go there by like taking your tent and pulka, what do you say, and but just bring stuff to be there and do a camp for some nights and just catch a really good snow when it comes really good snow. I would love to just make a camp there. Those kind of things I love doing, like typically over a long weekend kind of.
Well, sign me up. I want to join.
Yeah, that's so definitely. But I haven't scheduled any. It's more like ideas I want to do, and also super eager to see how much we can explore with. I have a 1.5-year-old daughter, and I love taking her on adventures. Like really, it's even more fun sometimes to bring her on adventure, because I see these small adventures in new perspectives, and to see what we can do with her during the winter, and how she will interact with the mountains when she's almost soon 2 years. How will she face it? So that's a challenge, or not a challenge, but an adventure itself. So
I would say from our experience, our kids they grew up in the mountains, or a lot of the times, and their world is quite small still. So a big rock can look huge for them, and only just getting on top of a rock is already kind of an adventure. Well, we might look at the full picture and want to go to the top of the mountain. For them, the little steps are tiny adventures.
Do you feel that you ever had are they inspiring of going out on the mountains, or do you feel that you often need to motivate them to get out? I mean, given you have really grown up with your kids, where are they? Are they like this amazing, perfect kids always going out? And
I wish I could
happy?
say yes, but definitely not.
No. I think it's a mix of things. Sometimes they are like all of us, they're happy and they're in the right time, the right moment, and they just want to go out and it's fun. A lot of the times we need to push them and you take them on the adventure, and as soon as they are there, and then everything is gone, and then it's fun times. But what also really helps is join forces, is get another couple with
smart
kids, and then everything is so much easier. So,
I understand the kids too, though, from their perspective. Let's say they're playing or they just want to hang around the house, and then we're like, oh, let's go skiing. And maybe they're not in the mood. And it's like, mom and dad are in the mood, so we have to be in the mood. And I struggled with that with my parents. They would always be, for example, every Sunday we would go for a hike with the dog in the forest with the whole family. And a lot of times I didn't want to go. But now, later in life, I'm very happy that they pushed me. So I am grateful that we did go outside as a family, because that was a very quality time. We didn't have phones and distractions and TVs and all those things. So that's the thing that allows me myself to push my kids sometimes. But I try to balance it a bit and also let them choose sometimes what we do and follow their feelings.
Do you have any specific trick that you do? One was very good at, like, you bring their friends to the mountains. Is there anything else that really works when you want them out?
Candy, but I mean... we did that recently in Norway. It was kind of, we don't give them candy in the house. It's kind of a rule for us. If they get it from somebody else, fine. But it's not a thing in our house. So they got motivated because we said we could pick each 10 different types of candy. We joined as a group, as a family. So we all went to this corner in Sweden. All the supermarkets have them, and in Norway as well. Where you can just pick out your candy that you really like, and then they could eat it while hiking on a quite a big hike that we did with them. So they were super happy just because of that. It's maybe a bit negative in a way because it's pure sugar, but on the other side you're also burning so many calories, so it's not necessarily that bad either.
But the same with fika. I love fika for this reason with the kids. If we say like, oh, we're going to make a fire, and the sweets have definitely inspired us with the possibilities of fika. So for example, bringing our waffle iron and making a fire somewhere and bringing dough, and then it becomes more than just skiing, which is definitely not a bad thing. It sounds so like spoiled. Because skiing in itself, of course, is fun. But it's cold here often, like the minus 20 degrees. And the kids are thinking, well, I can stay warm on the couch. Like, why do I have to go into the cold? So we try to put something distracting, happy, other things towards the experience that they can see as a motivation as well.
And kind of short time frames. The younger they are, the shorter the time frame, I would say. You do multiple things in one day, short, than just go out for a long adventure, which you're used to as an adult. So. That's
I think that is actually what's also one great thing here in Åre, that you can actually do small adventure. It's easy. It's not a big thing to go out and do something. So both for as a grown-up but adult and also for kids, it's very easy to just go out and take an ice bath. It's so there's easy. If I would think about that, if I'm in the city, it would be a longer. I would have needed more motivation to get it done.
You need to plan it and time it.
I need to plan it. I probably need to, sometimes to just take you too long to something that is going to be very cold. It's going to find a way. No, maybe I go into the fika instead. But here's it's so close, you can't find any distractions on the way.
To wrap it up, is there anything you want to share with the listeners or viewers, or about where they can find you on the Instagram or something like that?
The Instagram, actually, if the ones who have been listening are more curious about self-leadership and all the insights about motivational psychology and positive psychology, I share a lot about that on Instagram. So how do you say it? Now I have, my name on Instagram is like Malin, and then it's like
underscore.
Thank you. So it's Malin _Rapp, like Malin _RAPP.
We'll put it in the caption as well.
So it's crazy. People ask, like, when I say rap, specifically in English, I always have to really tell what it says. Like, is it 1 or 2 or like, yeah. So yeah, but there is a good way to connect.
Is there any advice that you have for listeners or viewers who are going through a setback like you had with your concussion, and how they can get motivated again in life?
I would say that the best thing you can do when you go through like setbacks is to always try to combine, to embrace the feelings you feel, that you are maybe frustrated, you are sad, you feel maybe worried, to be okay with that. It's so human to feel. You need to accept that. That's the first, most important rule to even look ahead. So practice to be nice to yourself and say, this is okay, I'm frustrated, or I want to give up, or I'm sad. Then I would say, given this hard situation, what can you learn? Like, what is this situation actually giving you? Is there something you can learn that will actually make the situation more meaningful? And from there, try to take a direction ahead. Because I use that very often. It's crazy, actually, just when I have a conflict with my partner, I ask myself, what can we learn from this? I mean, sometimes he gets so annoyed at me asking these questions all the time, because he's like, can we just get over it and be friends, And I was like, no, but really, like, if we can learn why we end up in a conflict and have a hard time right now, then we can, like, it's so much easier going forward. We will probably don't need to go through it again. So I think that's to have a learning mindset.
Yeah. I think those are some very wise words. Thank you so much. To end this episode, some rapid fire fun. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Skiing or snowboarding?
Skiing.
Morning person or evening person?
Definitely morning.
Ooh. Hot tub or sauna?
Oh, yeah, hot tub, definitely. I love it. Yeah.
With bubbles or without bubbles?
Oh, without. It was a good twist of the question.
Hiking or biking?
Hiking or biking? Oh, definitely hiking.
Hiking. That's it. That's all. Thank you for today.
Thank you. I'm so glad I've had the chance to be here.
It was really fun.
Yeah. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thank you.